Hello and welcome to the SC Playbook podcast out of NRL Supercoach round 27, proudly brought to you by Mortgage Choice SCW. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, just 8 games remain until a new Supercoach champion will be crowned in 2024. All those sleepless Wednesday nights for the last 27 weeks of the season, agonising over trade plans, sit v start, captains, all of that comes down to this. Even the preseason before that, whether you get into it 4 weeks before, 5, 6, 7 weeks, whether you start your planning before Christmas, it all culminates in this weekend of a rugby league action. Here to talk through it with me is Random Stats Guy. Rando, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. Feeling really confident after another win against the top 4 team for my Cowboys over the weekend. Not so confident with how my Supercoach team goes, although we were about the same area around that 1,200 mark. Isaac Tungo getting an 18 and a flogging against the Rabbitohs just hurt me.
Wow.
Yeah, I had some big scores, but far out that hurt.
Earlier in the year, for a few years now, Isaac Tungo has been known for 35-40 base. I can honestly say I've not looked up on him over the last month or so, but he's just fallen off a cliff, hasn't he?
Absolutely. Well, the right edge got no action whatsoever. It seemed like it was all going left in that game.
Yeah, more on the Panthers later because they're hard to predict where they're going to score their points. For the Kuma Sounds, 1,241 points. Look, I've had heaps worse. We saw some green arrows, 375 spot rise, still 16K. I feel wheezy in the stomach every time I say that out loud. But look, you've got to celebrate the wins, Rando, and I saw some green arrows, which has been very rare this season. So look, we'll take it. Ruben Garrick, I benched Rubes for that game earlier. It just ruined my whole weekend. There's nothing worse than screwing up a player early in the weekend or a captain. Squad depth was really good, and I looked at it, and the left edge of Bronson Sherry, Matty Burton, Kikau, Fox, best defensive edge in the NRL this season. I'm like, going to be a tight game, a low scorer. How are Manly going to get up for this one? Garrick just put on a masterclass. On the flip side, Dylan Brown came back for us, 160 points, 165 or something. So repaid the faith. But yeah, 1,241 points. Also with us today, Matty the Waterboy. Matty, how are you?
Good. I had a good week. I got 1340.
Here we go.
So I'm finishing strong. Had 5 players in my team who scored 100 or more. So it's a good finish to the year for me.
Yeah, finishing in style. That's bloody unreal. Guys, before we get into it today, the SC Playbook Unlimited League, Bryce's boys, coached by Blake, remains in first overall, a 242-point buffer to second place. We've also got the 3rd and 4th overall. The Hindsights, coached by John, he's in 3rd. West Tigers, coached by Nick, in 4th. So we want to get an SC Playbook trifecta. There's not much between those boys, like 2, 3, 4. So hopefully Blake can hold on and the other boys can get into 2nd and 3rd and we can get the trifecta. We've done it before. It'd be good to do it again. SC Playbook subscriber catch-up. Been teasing at this one for a few weeks, but we will be doing a get-together with the contributors and all the SC Playbook subscribers. There'll be Supercoach trivia, prizes to be won there. The exact details have been revealed in the WhatsApp chat. It is on this Saturday, September 7th, somewhere in Sydney. And yes, details are in there. If you're not in that chat, but you are a subscriber, just flick us an email at supercoachplaybook@gmail.com. We can let you know the location, time, and all that via that one. Also, today's show, Teamless Tuesday analysis, Rando, Pappenhausen, Haas, Burton, Walker, Sherry, Fifita, all out. We have a look at that one. In terms of the mass restings that often happen at this time of year, it's ended up very fortunate for Supercoach's Rando because outside of the Melbourne Storm, every team from 2nd through till about 13th the last few weeks has had something big to play for. And even this week, 2nd through to sort of 9th, even if you add in 10th and 11th, Raiders, Dragons, they're all playing for things, so no one can really rest. It's been massive.
Absolutely. It's been so good for such a competitive year. This year, usually we just see the top 4 dominating and usually 5th to 8th sort itself out 3 rounds in advance. But this year, so much to play for. Like, if it's not just to make the top 8, it's to make a home semi, which is also important to get that home ground advantage. So that's been really awesome.
Mate, even things like the way the games have played out this weekend with like the Roosters early on in the round, the Panthers later. Like, it could have been a scenario where if Penrith played earlier 1 and the Roosters couldn't finish worse than 3rd or 4th, they could have rested players, blokes with niggles, whatever it might be. But it just hasn't panned out. So great news for Supercoaches, but that isn't to say there hasn't been carnage, because there are a lot of big-name players out this week, be it through injury, suspension, light rest, that sort of thing. So we'll get to that one shortly. The topic for the show to kick it off, the final round of the season. We'll be looking at the best 1 week options. Essentially, who do we think are going to be the highest scoring players in Supercoach this week? Topic 2, Rando, you've got a stat deep dive for us. That'll be reflecting on the statistical side of the NRL Supercoach year, the most improved players, the biggest regressors, the most traded in, the least traded or the least movement for the year. There's some good stuff there. We'll drop our round 27 trades and skippers, listener questions to wrap it up. Hines v. Luai. Who is the best Sammy Walker replacement? Now, let's get into Team List Tuesday. Starting at the Broncos and the Storm, Brendan Piakura, Payne Hasker, Tony Staggs, Xavier Willison, all out for the Broncos. This one could be a bloodbath. Ryan Pappenhausen is out, more rested than anything. He had that sort of caught from last week, but no need to play him. And Sua Fa'alongo, he comes in at fullback, a very interesting prospect that we'll get to shortly. Of course, all the other Storm stars have returned from their rest from last week. At the Bunnies, Jackie Wyden is out, Dean Hawkins in, Tallis Duncan starts at lock, Keon Kaloa Matangi on the edge. Rando the Roosters, this is the big one for so many reasons. Smith out, Brandon Smith that is, Sammy Walker, Daniel Tupou, Nat Butcher, Victor Radley. This game loomed as one of the best games to target for the final round of the season. I know myself, I'm very heavily invested in Roosters players. Fortunately, of the injured brigade, it was only Sammy Walker. But it just puts a lot of question marks over a very new look lineup against the Bunnies.
Absolutely. I guess if there's any confidence, last time the Roosters and the Bunnies went head-to-head, Sandon Smith was a starting half. Luke Keary was out for that game. So it was Sandon and Sammy Walker, and they went on to win 48-6. So didn't stop the points coming. And, the Rabbitohs, they are all-out attack and all-out defence, I think. So I reckon this will be an absolute high-scoring game, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Roosters go nuts, particularly down that right edge. I know that obviously Sam Walker not there to unlock it, but the Rabbitohs have conceded tries to right wingers. I think outside of the Panthers game, I think it's only been 4 or 5 games this year. So can expect a big game from Dom Young and Manu in this one, even though there is no one down there. Teddy can run that right side, surely.
That is very sweet. Sweet words to my ears, mate. At the Dragons, Little returns at hooker. Last week's most traded in player was a shock out in final team lists. And I saw that I think about 4,000 odd teams traded him in. And when it kicked off, I think 3,000 had traded him. So only about 1,000 odd people were on top of that final team list. Mulheisen came in, killed it as well for the record, just to rub salt into the wounds. Oh, it was a dagger for those who did bring Jacob Little in or did own. He does return this week, though. Mulheisen is on the bench. Whether or not Little plays 80, I don't... Do you know anything about why he missed out last week or what happened?
Baby on the way.
Right, so he'll be good for 80.
Yeah.
Okay, fair excuse. It cost the Dragons their season.
Maybe.
But
potentially, yeah.
At the Raiders, Jordan Rapana and Elliot Whitehead are out through suspension and injury, having played their last games for the Raiders, 2 absolute legends of the club. Last week, so Tommy Starling's been named to start hooker. Danny Levi on the bench. Last week, though, come kick-off, Starling moved to the bench, Levi to hooker. That is the exact reason that while Tommy Starling's been great for a while, you just couldn't touch him. And, congratulations to those who did get on, but early on when he was cheap and he got the starting role, you're like, you just don't know what Ricky Stewart's going to do.
Yeah.
Switched him around last weekend. They've been named like that, but after a big win over the Roosters, surely you don't change anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I thought after a big win over Penrith, they wouldn't change anything, but here we are. Yeah. But how good for Elliot Whitehead as well. He ends off posting the meme of the year with that little bit of Roosters rub-in. But on top of that, finishes with wins over Penrith and the Roosters to see himself out. What a way.
Yeah, he'll be remembered for the meme.
Oh, 100%.
More than the wins, but all that being said, even though it was a suspension, he's gone out on pretty good terms.
Yeah.
Whitehead. Bronson Sherry's out for the Bulldogs. Stephen Crichton returns at centre. Matty Burton is also out. Drew Hutchison comes into the halves. I don't know if the Spy's still an owner of Hutchison, but that'll just be one of these stories of the season if Spy still has him and plays him for a ton in that game. Dylan Edwards has been named despite a knee concern for the Panthers. Dane Laurie on the extended bench. David Fifita is out for the Titans. Rando, this is a big one because he's one of the highest owned players in the game.
Absolutely a huge out here. I didn't catch that night's Titans game, but I didn't think there was any symptoms that would show that he would miss the final game. So that's a massive one. Obviously, Cleese Haas comes in there. Chris Randall playing at back row, I noticed last week as well. Obviously didn't help their cause whatsoever. So a big loss there. Be interesting to see how people play that, especially if you have no trades left. You're kicking yourself.
Every time I hear Chris Randall's name, I think, I've been calling it Crandall. Every time. That one for Simpsons viewers out there, should I say. I was actually going to sit Dave Fifita outside of my 17 this week anyway, which I can't believe I'd ever say. But with his form over the last month, you do wonder the true nature behind this because he'd put in so much all season, but the last month he's had his eye on Mad Monday, and he's not the only one in the comp or in the Titans, I'll be honest. But yeah, Fifita, he's been down and out, and with a game against the Panthers, he was sitting anyway, so I'm actually not too concerned about that one. Tommy Turbo and Jason Saab out for Manly. Tolutau Kola has been named at fullback. Lehigh Hopewadi on the wing, chopping and changing fullbacks. It was Hopewadi earlier in the year when Turbo was out. Now it's Kola. Make of that information what you will. Faualalo on the wing. At the Sharkies, Ramian and Mulitalo return. Sifa Talakai on the extended bench. Now, guys, if you're sitting there watching on YouTube and Rando's already seen the screen and you're thinking, geez, Timbo's looking fresh today. It's not a new haircut. I didn't get a nose job, but this nifty T-shirt that's working its magic. SC Playbook branded tee. So keep your eyes peeled. Potentially for a future SC Playbook merch drop. So
Does look very good. Very good. And I did think you got a nose job, but then I looked back at your nose and nope, it's still like that.
Yeah. You know what, Rando? I was about to pay you a compliment. And why aren't you modelling this shirt instead of me? Because that was just ridiculous. However, you can get wrecked. Let's get into the first topic of the show. It is the final round of the season, so all we want to know for those people with trades left are who are the top scoring players going to be. Before we do get into our list of players, first question, we're not hot topics in today. No one has trades, who cares? Ponga versus Tedesco, though. For those that do have a trade up their sleeve, bracket Turbo owners. All the Turbo owners out there, this was a big one because to have a trade up your sleeve on the all-important fullback position, big points available there, especially when you add in captaincy contenders as well. And look, we'll talk about a few more left field options a little bit later in the show, but Ponga v Teddy, I think, is going to be the big one for super coaches out there. Rando, if you're a Tom Trbojevic owner or whatever it might be, and you can go Ponga or Teddy this week. Ponga against the Dolphins, playing for a top 8 spot Sunday afternoon, or Tedesco against the Rabbitohs in a new look Roosters outfit with new combinations on Friday night against the Bunnies. Who do you prefer?
I would definitely go James Tedesco, trialled and tested, I think 6 tons in his last 8 games, 102 in a very low scoring game last week against the Raiders as well. I've been a Teddy owner since he was not announced as the fullback for New South Wales, so he's been perfect for me. Whereas Kalen Ponga, he can be up and down. It is a home game, finals on the line for Kalen, but his double on the weekend, he only had scored 1 try in 13 games before that this season. So don't think that the points are going to come as freely for Kalen. Also hasn't been swinging down his usual left-hand side as well. So I think James Tedesco, right side dominant here. The Bunnies, they averaging 93 points per game to fullbacks in the last 5 games. You just got to go him.
Watching that game as a Greg Marju owner was for a few weeks in a row.
Yeah.
It's been one of the toughest watches of all time.
Crazy how they flipped it.
They just lay it on the left and just swing to the right. All their attacking movements, attacking the line. It is such a killer. If I was ranked higher, I'd be really off it, but I don't really care. But yeah, it is... I would lean towards Tedesco as well. The injuries have thrown me off a little bit. I will say Tedesco could just have a ton of ball and really take it upon himself to take control of this Roosters outfit and their attack with, in particular, of course, Sam Walker out of it. So, look, he could get a ton of touches. I'd lean towards Tedesco as well. if it was a week earlier, I mean, I know the Dolphins just beat Brisbane, or if it was a regular season game, I'd go Ponga because I wouldn't trust the Dolphins and their defence this year's been very leaky. However, playing for a top 8 spot, they're going to be up for the game. You'd think it's, if nothing else, they'll put up a fight.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to count this Dolphins Knights game as a final and treat it like such. So I reckon wouldn't be surprised there's not too many high scoring scores in that matchup.
Yeah. Mate, let's get on to our picks this week for the highest scoring players. Let's go. Give me your list, then I'll give you mine.
Mine a bit extra out there.
That's what we want.
My first one here, and I'm not too sure you've been tracking this play. Isaiah Yeo has been killing it lately since Nathan Cleary has come off. Last 5 games since round 21, he's been averaging 84. The Titans, they like to leak tries to locks as well, particularly nighttime games. They average 93 points to locks in their last 5 night games. The Panthers side, Isaiah Yeo scored 90 points in his last 5 night games as well. So Isaiah Yeo definitely, he did the job for me on the weekend with a ton. He'd definitely be a massive pickup. And then looking at this Parramatta Eels...
Just on Isaiah Yeo, I mean, he's just been under the radar all season. And I think I might have mentioned it last week, but I think Origin really made it tough for Yeo because people didn't really want to start with him because he was expensive. You feel like he doesn't really have that attacking upside, but I mean, he showed on the weekend that he does. You know you're going to lose him over Origin. You know that Ivan Cleary in recent years has begun to rest players, which he did to Isaiah Yeo. And then over the back end of the year, he's just killed it. My one concern this week would be is I think they put a cricket score on the Titans, and I think him and Dill Edwards are got to be the first 2 to get early showers, don't they?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Making sure that they get it through. So that's why I'm hoping the Titans put on some sort of performance out of nowhere.
Please, not a chance. What do you got for us?
I like the 2 fullbacks in the Spoon Bowl as well. The Tigers and the Eels both conceding over 116 points per game in their last 5 games to fullbacks. So you got Jareen Buller and Clint Gufferson. Clint Gufferson, as you've mentioned in your analysis, just a sneak preview, very sneaky pod play for this week as well. He's been playing really well, averaging 82 points in his last 5 games. He's averaging 86 in his last 5 night games as well. So I've got him as probably one of the top point scorers based on last 5, aiming around that 99 points this weekend, followed closely by Jareen Buller as a potential.
Heath
Mason.
Heath Mason. Yeah, wow. Gutho's an interesting one. Didn't kick goals last week. Doesn't mean he can't score well, but if he was kicking goals, he'd be a serious option. Not saying he isn't anyway. Especially with the Tigers' edges, he could do so much damage out there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's probably just completely scarred from picking up a kicking tee ever again, to be honest.
Yeah, poor bugger.
Every time he picks it up, he's just made a meme of.
Yeah. Anyone else there, mate?
Those are my main options for this week. The last one is Britton Nickera as well to go large here. You're looking at Manly. They've averaged 86 points to right second rowers in their last 5 games, 87 points in their last 5 day games. So, yeah.
That surprises me. And firstly, I'm off you for saying that because I was looking at sitting Nickera this week. I've avoided the majority of the carnage, got a deep squad, got a trade in hand. So, there's some good players sitting out. And I was like, who's it going to be? I'm just thinking out loud, but Nickera on the right, going at Cherry Evans on the left who I thought Cherry Evans he has his defensive issues, but they're not in contact. They're defending a bit too tight, shooting out, whatever it might be. So there's often tries on his edge, but I thought that him on the edge back rowers would have been pretty solid. But that's interesting stats.
I think it might be Brooksy on the left there. Manly.
Oh, it is Brooks on the left side. Yeah, I was doesn't that up?
Yeah, doesn't that up?
Thank God for that.
Yes. I think Manly have conceded try to a right second rower in 3 of their last 5 games as well. So that's why I really like it. Nico back in the side as well. We know how much their combination sparks.
Sweet. Okay. Been a long season. For myself, mate, I'm a bit surprised you didn't go to this one, but I think Melbourne put a test cricket score on the Broncos. And with all their, like I thought it before all the outs, but then seeing all the outs in their side as well, headlined by obviously Payne Haas, Tony Staggs, Storm near full strength, obviously Pappenhausen out, fresh off their week off at Suncorp. The Broncos are an absolute rabble at the moment. There's rumours and reports kind of off-field shit going on as well. I think they put a score on, and I think if you're a Sammy Walker owner and you've got a trade, Jerome Hughes, he's probably my tip for the top scorer of this week. I am not going to go in because it's not going to change much for me, and I'm going to have a bit of fun with it, but I like Papy's replacement in Suafai Longo at fullback. I think he could have a field day.
Yeah, absolutely. As we mentioned, fullback's absolutely killing it against the Broncos, averaging 93 in their last 5 games. So I definitely look at Suafai Longo. As we mentioned, 62 as a starting fullback, not an enticing thing, but the way he was playing against the Cowboys, he has an error in his game, but I think he's going to have an absolute field day. Scored a double this time last year when he came on off the bench, so I just can't see the Broncos putting up much of a fight.
No, he has the potential to explode. God forbid if anything happened to Ryan Pappenhausen between now and round 1 next year, Farlong will be my first bloke picked. I just think you can see him playing. He's learning the game. We know how quick he is. We know how good his footwork is, ball in hand. He's still really learning, and I know it's because I owned him early in the year, and he did quite well for me, but it's just getting his timing and chiming into those backline movements. He's either a little bit too deep or a bit flat, and he's not getting the easy try assist that the best fullbacks get in the game, which is fine. He's still learning the role. That'll come. But, yeah, look, he might not need to do a lot of ball playing this. It could just be all with his footwork and speed, so I really like him. The Panthers game, I think Penrith and the Titans as well. I think that's a game to target, and the bloke that I reckon I would have got in had far longer, and I'm not locked into my trades because I do like this bloke as well, but I like Brian To'o against the Titans. I like Jerome Luai. Again, I mentioned them last week. Luai bounced back. Brian To'o had an underwhelming week. I think he was mid-40s, but To'o on the right, he's going at that left edge of the Titans. Jaden Campbell, Cam Pereira's out there, Brian Kelly, it was Dave Fifita, it'll now be...
Then be Crandall.
Crandall. He's going at Crandall. He'll have a field day. The issue, and I've got some numbers around this, they'll say for beers and break-evens with Guru tomorrow, but trying to predict where the Panthers are going to score their tries, mate, it's very, very difficult, as we saw last weekend, because... we were sort of saying that if Toto ends up on the right, that's probably where you want to be at the Panthers. The left doesn't tend to get a lot of ball. Taruva got a double on the other wing. Like, how do you predict it?
Absolutely. It's crazy mind games of Ivan Cleary. And on top of predicting where they're going to score, you don't know which side bloody Toto and Taruva line up sometimes because Cleary almost does it like a matchup wherever he sees his winger as a possible threat. We've seen that multiple times on why they swap. So they've always been clueless to me, and it's an absolute terrible team to punt on, that's for sure.
I don't touch them punting because you don't know where the try scares are going to be. So, but yeah, look, all that being said, on paper, it all makes sense that Toto can score a couple of tries, but like this score could blow out if the Titans really throw in the towel and don't turn up. So I do like Toto. Luai's almost a safer bet because you know wherever there's action, he'll be there.
Yeah.
But yes, I do like Brian Toto. Mate, a bit of a sneaky one for you. You mentioned that Eels and Dragons game, Micah Sivo. He scored something like 15 tries in 10 games this year. The left edge is playing some good footy. It's obviously between RC, Brown's playing both sides of the ruck, as we saw the impact on his scoring last week with 44 points scored. Clint Gutho going out there. He's by far the riskiest pick on this, but the Eels, they're sending all their attack there. He looks good this week.
Absolutely. And he's got the best strike rate of players to score doubles as well. I think he scored a double in 45% of his games this year. So he can definitely pile on the points just through scoring tries. And especially up against, I think it'll probably be Charlie Staines on that right wing. That's just a mismatch.
Yeah.
Complete mismatch.
Really, really like that.
Yeah.
So... then lastly, I mean, just touching on some obvious ones, but Zach Lomax, Dom Young, they're both primed to go big again. But look, we've spoken at nauseam about them. They could easily be 1 and 2 this week. Ponga and Teddy, didn't even need to mention them in terms of the actual list. But yeah, they're the ones that I like. Matty, What have you got this week for the round's top scorers?
So the only one I had in common was Sua Fa'alogo. I think,
Wow.
I'm with you. I think he is going to tear up Brisbane with all their mass restings. We tipped, we did our tips yesterday on the Bloke podcast, and I think I said Storm Brisbane with the start. I wish I could flip that right now. I think Storm are going to pump him, and I think Fa'alogo is going to have a big one. The other two, I reckon, unfortunately for myself, that South are probably going to get a score put on them as well. And I think that side's been in trouble all year. So I think Joey Manu is probably going to do the damage there. This one's probably a little left field. And if you said this at the start of the season, you wouldn't say it's left field because he scored the most points last year. But I actually reckon Nico Hines is going to have a field day against Manly. I just have a weird feeling that, he's been in the, negative headlines for a while. It's the team that got rid of him a few years ago. It's a Sunday afternoon. I just reckon it's got Nico written all over it.
Loves playing at Brookie as well. They've won their last 2 games with Nico there, last 3 games on top of that. It's crazy they only won 5 games at Brookvale Oval.
Yeah, their record is horrendous.
Like 5 out of 56 and now 3 out of 3. Crazy.
I saw Nico today as well, actually.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
From one good sword on Cronulla Esplanade.
Was he wearing the SC Playbook? Did you notice the SC Playbook shirt?
I wasn't wearing it, unfortunately. Thank God. Interesting. Nico Hines. Well, he's going to come into the chat. No, let's talk about him now. What do you reckon, Rando? Nico against Manly, as I said, the stats add up. He's got Matty's faith. He, wasn't necessarily his best game last week, but he got enough touches. He looked dangerous enough. He's got the ceiling. Thoughts?
I think, seeing the start that they had on the Warriors last weekend, you can't say the Sharks are playing terrible football. Obviously, he needs a big game and a confidence game heading into the finals. He's lost a fair few, obviously, before his return. So I do see Nico kind of taking control of this game, and this will be a big tester heading into the finals because Sharks been knocked out of straight sets in the last 2 years. So this is going to be huge. Flat track, sunny day at Manly. Just see points galore, I think, for him.
It's a great... I like it. I think there are better matchups. I don't think, of the blokes mentioned, I like their matchups just to explode better because Manly will be up for this game. Their Turbo's out, Saab's out, but defensively, I shouldn't say it won't impact it that much because Tommy Turbo's one of the best talkers in the game and organised some fullbacks. So maybe it will. Oh, he's enticing.
It's very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. Guys, that miserable time of year has come around once again. Not missing out on the top 50,000 overall rank. Being the laughing stock of your Supercoach side, it's tax time. We have a special call out to any of our self-employed SC Playbook faithful who may have been hit with a hefty tax bill this year. If this is sounding familiar and you're a little unsure about how to attack it, there are plenty of options out there to keep more money in your pocket, especially if you currently have a place of your own. You don't have to be self-employed, but this is Paddy's call out. So I'm just passing on the information. But if you need help with your tax at all, you can get in touch with them. To do so, get on to Paddy and the team at Mortgage Choice SCW. Give them a call. They can let you know how to most effectively consolidate any tax debt that you might have. Usually, that'd cost you $129. But if you mention SC Playbook, it's completely free of charge. Flick the team a message on Instagram at mortgagechoice_SCW or give them a buzz on 02 9521 1611, no matter where in Australia you are based. Of course, that offer stands through the back end of the year as well. In our off-season, if you're in this position and you need to get in touch with someone about refinancing, your best mortgage rate, whatever it might be, give them a call, mention them, and you'll still get $129 off. Now, Rando, stat deep dive into the Supercoach 2024 season.
Absolutely. This is going to be huge. I might make it interactive there. Sorry, Matty, you're chewing on a few things over there. All good? Sweet.
Well,
easy.
the spy's normally here to eat food.
Yeah, that
so
is
just
true.
filling in for the spy.
So I thought I'd start with looking at trade-wise around Supercoach this season. Thought I'd look at the top 3 keepers. So that is looking at the least traded out players from round 1 to round 27. So the players who had the least drop-off in ownership from that time. Do you guys have, how many clues do you want to have a shot straight off the deck? Yep.
So you mentioned this to me just before the show. So off the top of the melon, I've jotted down some really quick ones.
Yep.
This is bloody hard also, I realise.
Yes.
There's so many factors to come into it. So I winged it very hard. But I reckon I'm going to be pretty close with two of them.
Yep.
I reckon Joe Chan and Puaso Farmasili would have to be pretty steady, wouldn't they? I mean, I know
they're up there. They're
I've
up
had
there.
Farmasili all year. I know there's a lot of people had Joe Chan all year, but yeah, not in there.
Not in there, not in
Right.
there. And for the record, for those at home, these are top 10%
Yep.
owners, not like your random one guy,
Yep.
Jamie Humphreys, all that sort of vibe.
So my other two that sprung to mind, and you're just looking at positions where there wouldn't
Yep.
have been much. I reckon there'd have been a lot of probably Grant and Robson owners that didn't move all year.
Robson, number 4 on the list.
Okay, I got
Robson, number 4.
thereabouts.
3,000 moved up and down. What about you, Matty? What do you got?
What about Fanua Blake?
Vanilla Blake, actually the most traded in player since round 1. He wasn't in many round 1 teams
Right, okay.
at the start of the season. So he had the most trades from round 1 through to round 27.
I thought of him as well, and then I was like, no, people didn't start with him; they just jumped on. But
Yeah.
What do you got?
All right, number 3. We're looking at the 5'8" position here. Any last guesses?
Dylan Brown.
No. Luke Brooks. Only changed down 3,351 owners from round 1 to this year.
People who bought him essentially held, like lots bought and held.
Yeah,
I guess 5'8's been a pretty weak position, but
has. That's what it's kind
and
of
I
crazy
have
about.
spoken to a few people who've been like, I've still got Brooks. And I'm like, really? That's mental.
Absolutely. He had 19,607 owners, and so he's only gone down 3,000 from that.
Go.
Next up, another 5'8" position as well, KO Weeks. Only down 1,273 owners. He's at 16,412 owners at the moment. And the last one is just going to absolutely do your head in.
So these are owned. So this is right now as it stands, round 27 about to kick
Yep.
off, in the top 10% of overall ranked coaches
Yep.
still. What?
Yeah. Last one, Hamiso Tabuai Fido. Only 1,000 coaches down from his ownership from round 1. He had 25,417 owners.
Wow. How interesting.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
had Hammer. I started with Hammer.
Yeah.
I bought Brooks. God knows why. Looked good in Vegas for one game. Good one. Wonder where my season went wrong. Yeah, okay. Good stuff.
Interesting. I think the most sold ones are could be pretty easy. I
Okay,
think there's some common ones here.
I've got,
I started with all 3 of them and traded them
I've
out.
got heaps more common answers here. I reckon I know number 1.
Yeah.
I reckon the biggest drop nearly have to be Sean Lane.
No.
Nah?
No.
All right, my other 2 that came to mind were Payne Haas and Nathan Cleary.
No, Cleary 5th on the list. Matty, do you want to have a crack?
Nico?
No.
I was trying to think who else was like super popular at the start of the season. That felt like about 3 years ago. Who'd everyone... And like, I was even thinking Tommy Turbo because like a lot started with him, but then he had a resurgence.
The droppings here, at least 55. Number 1 spot had dropped 55,000 owners from round 1.
Who you got?
Number 1 is Ethan Strange.
Yeah.
Oh, cheapies, of course.
Cheapies.
Yeah. that
But
makes
then it
complete
goes
sense.
into number 2, Ben Trbojevic,
Yeah.
Burbo.
Yeah.
And then
Of course it's cheapies.
number 3, Roger Tuivasa Sheck.
Yep. All 3 left my team.
Yeah.
So 53,000 dropped
That
off
makes
Ben
sense. That does make
Trbojevic
sense.
and
Cheap
43,000 dropped off
Makes
Roger.
complete sense.
Yes, absolutely.
That's very poor on our behalf.
But they're still in the top 10% of their
Yeah.
of owned teams as well.
True.
So.
True.
All right.
I've got this one.
You got this
surely.
one, surely. Let's go. Should we do most unimproved or most improved?
Most
first?
improved, 'cause I
most
reckon I've
improved.
got it.
Let's go.
It's got to be Angus Crichton.
Damn.
Yeah.
You're just too good, mate.
Yes.
Bang on.
I kind of got him. I'm like, I've got it, and I didn't. I did put a dash next to Zach Lomax, who he would have averaged about 16 or 18 improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. He was in the top 10. What about you, Natty? Natty.
What? So for what?
Have you got most improved player? There's 2 left on the list.
Have to have played 10 games last
Had
year.
to have
though?
played 10 games this season and last season.
What about? I don't know how well he went last season, but I know he went really good this season. Eli Katoa.
Eli Katoa, no, not on the list, unfortunately. Not even in Kui.
Yeah, he might have got it right last year. I don't. No,
They're two halves.
Most improved
one's a half.
halves, minimum 10 games.
Sam Walker.
No, not Sam Walker.
Who's gone up a heap? Jerome Hughes would have been solid last year. I don't know, mate.
We've got Tyron Wishart as one of the most improved.
yeah,
He's
of
up
course.
32 points in his average. Angus Crichton up 40 points in his average year on year. And Jaden Campbell up 30 points on his average year on year.
Jaden Campbell in my round one team, then he twinched his hammy and missed a few rounds. Devastating.
Yes. Very tough.
For the record, this was... I didn't look at any names for this. It was just off the melon. And what's the last one?
Last one. Those were the three.
Last category, sorry.
Last category. Most unimproved. The ones who've gone down the most.
Oh, this is
points.
easy. I'll just go through my team. What have we got?
Well, I think some of these players are in said team.
I reckon I'll be pretty close to number one.
Yep.
Greg Marju.
Greg Marzu, number one.
Yeah.
Bang.
And then the other two I jotted down were Nico and SJ.
Nico, third on the list. SJ, eighth on the list.
Eighth. Because there wasn't a heap between them, I don't think, drop-offs.
There's another centre winger
who dropped
who's
off big time.
dropped off.
Oh, Dallin?
I was going to let Matty have a go here.
Sorry.
It wasn't Dallin?
It was Dallin. It was Dallin Wateni Zalesniak. He dropped 18 points, but Marzu, the big one, dropping 24 points on his 2024 average.
Tough year.
Jeez.
Anyway. Good stuff, mate. I like that.
That's all good.
Yeah. Trades and skippers this week. Do you have any left?
No trades and no skippers, really. I think I'm just going to...
No skippers,
I
that's
think I'm
bold.
just going to skip. I'm going to skip James Tedesco. No changes to that. He's just been my rock. Don't see any movement there, but have no trades to give anymore, so hoping for the best.
Yep.
No Cody Black this week either for the 27th week in a row. Disappointing.
Least movement, Kobe Black. I have one up the sleeve, and I'm looking at going... I'm thinking Casey McLean to Suafa'alongo. I really like him. It's going to leave me with $345,000 in my bank, which hurts a bit. But I do like that as a player. I think his ceiling is enormous if the Broncos don't turn up, which I do not expect them to. Vice captain will be Suafa'alongo, and then my captain, look, it's Teddy or Ponga, and I think Teddy's probably the player in this one. So I'll be going with James Tedesco. Matty, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I got one trade left. Probably going to brush Walker, obviously. Probably will trust my instincts and go with Nico Hines.
Huge.
Yeah, I like it. Like it. It'll be a fun play as well to finish the
That's
year.
right. And captain, it's out of Teddy and Ponga. I'm going to go the other way, though. I think I'm going to go Ponga.
Why is that?
I just reckon that the South Roosters game has an opportunity to be an absolute slinger. And, like, Roosters could tear up South, as I said before, with Manu. But I just there's something about the day, afternoon game. Even if
Yes.
the Knights don't win, I think Ponga's going to have a big, big game. Whereas Teddy, sure, he could get 150, but who knows? It could be an absolute bludger.
It could,
So-
especially with clunky combinations.
Yeah. So I'm going Ponga.
All right. Interesting. Listener questions. Now, there's a lot around that came in around sort of 2025 strategy, lessons learned, etc. We'll be doing that next week, recording with the Spy and Clementine Cassidy, as well as the awards. We'll probably break that up into 2 episodes just to help get you through finals footy with no Supercoach around. 2 shorter ones. We'll talk about all those good things. But we will start with a question. We'll go to you, Rando, one from Ollie Maxwell. Sammy Walker owner, move to Hines or Luai?
I know you're going to be Luai, so I might be the person who goes Nico Hines. As we mentioned, flat track and Manly, day game. I just feel safer when it's a day game, especially how fast this field's going to be. Manly leaking points as well as scoring them, so I do think Nico might be the top scorer here.
Yep. I like Luai just because of the matchup.
Yep.
One from Gaz. Thanks for all the content this year, lads. Thank you, Gaz. Our pleasure. Sit Nickera. He had Fifita on this, but obviously out. Sit Nickera or Val Holmes? Homes against good doggies defensive edges.
Night game at home for the Dogs. I just got to sit out Holmes here. He's running at Crichton as well. I think that's going to be a bit of a brick wall. Nicker up against Brooks. I'd rather that matchup. Day game as well.
Tricky one. But yeah, you made good points there, especially on day-night game, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The stats around Brooks defensively, yep, okay.
Yeah.
I like Nicker up. Might even swing my team a little bit as well. One from Matty Diamond. What's been your worst trade for 2024, Rando?
Far out. There have been a few. I can tell you that much for free. Worst trade I have done this year.
I'll go to mine.
You go to yours.
Yeah.
I'm tossing up 50 names.
Yeah. So I went through my trades for the season before this show, and I'm really interested in the recap and the side in coming weeks. But not a lot of bad trades, but there was an absolute standout, and that was Dallin Watene-Zelezniak at 713k. Brought him in. He was 400k in the blink of an eye and unplayable. He did mellow out a little bit for me later on because I never really played him. I played him for a couple of games with good matchups or when he played fullback and that, and he scored all right. But, geez, even financially, the damage was done. So that one hurt me a lot. What do you got?
That actually reminded me of my matchup play. I brought in Jason Saab. He went on and did his hamstring in that game. So that was probably the worst trade. And, when I look back at all the times I could have had a trade up my sleeve right now, that one definitely probably haunts me the most. If not, starting with Will Kennedy was the worst decision of my life.
That was so wrong.
It was the pod play to end all pod plays, but unfortunately,
Ponga, Trbojevic, Tedesco, Pappenhausen.
couldn't see it coming. A Kennedy demise, to be honest.
Oh my god, that is ordinary. Yes, but no, definitely Dallin on that one, mate. Next question from. No, we've sort of chatted about Clint Gutherson, haven't we? Troy Beard, same sort of one. Have 2 trades left. Lost to Royvich. Should I go Teddy or a pod? What do you think? Do you think there are better options than Teddy, or do you think he's just the knockout answer?
I think Teddy is the knockout answer unless you're really can afford to gamble and go on that Suafar Longo train. Because I don't know if it's just been you talking about it the whole time, but now I'm feeling of like trying to steal a trade to try and get Farlongo into my side. I'll be watching keenly how he goes because I think it's a good shout. Yeah.
You can, for anyone that, Troy Beard, he's got 2 trades left, so he could get Sua at CT dub and get a Teddy in. I do think Teddy or Ponga. I don't think overthink it. They've got pretty good matchups still. They're the best at what they do at the moment. So, I think that's probably the play there. Good one from Philip. Who do you think will be next year's Bulldogs? Brackets, the underrated team for Supercoach scoring.
I'm going to say, I reckon the Warriors are due for a bounce back.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to have a few big scorers in. A great back line as well, swinging down that right side. Be interesting to see if Tuapiki owns that fullback jumper. And we see Chansey move into the centres as well. Roger probably stay left and then Chansey on that right centre option. So I actually don't mind the Warriors to go back to that top scoring position. James Fisher-Harris laying the platform as well at front row. They've got a couple of good buys as well, as much as they have lost a fair few players. I think Fisher-Harris in for Adam Fanua-Blake should be a straight swap, and if not, for the better in terms of leading them around off the field and turning them into that premiership winning or premiership contending side.
No, I like that one. I do. Mate, the knockout one for me, like the obvious choice, it's Matty's South Sydney Rabbitohs. There's no reason why their roster next year shouldn't be, at very least, playing finals footy, if not top 4. Like, it's a really, really good lineup. And I've just got them up now. I'm like, let's go through a few averages. Latrell, he averaged 88, so he'll set you back a long way. Even Keon at 63, like, he's played career best footy in the back half of this season. He could be value there. Cameron Murray, 62 average, will be in my round 1 team next year. It's made me crook that I haven't owned him all year, but just the opportunity between injuries and Origin just hasn't come about. But I would love to have owned Cam Murray. Does he miss any games next year?
No, because he'll get one for the Kangaroos.
Thank God for that. My 2025 team is already in strife. he's getting on a bit, but Cody Walker, a 57 average, there could be value there. Campbell Graham hasn't played this year. He's going to get a downgrade. Alex Johnston at a 44 average. He'll be dirt cheap. Yeah, there's some really, really serious options in this Bunnies outfit. And I think the other one is just the Parramatta Eels, another side who they can't go worse, surely.
Yeah.
So there'll be a few little plays there to have a look at, potentially even someone like, probably quite expensive, Mitchy Moses. But yeah, mate, next one coming in from Lyle Auld, play Kalamatangi or Beau Fermor?
Oh, man. Beau Fermor coming up against Paul Alamotti this weekend. And then I'm having a blank on the left second row for the Roosters because they've dropped Butcher, or not dropped Butcher.
Keon play right then.
He'll play right, yeah. So
Angus Crichton.
Oh,
jeez.
But next question.
But it'd be running at Luke Keary though.
Yeah, it would be running at Luke Keary. You got to have to take Kalamatangi.
I'm playing Keon.
Yeah, I think Firma's it'd be tough ball out on the right hand side for him. Tough ball. Yeah, got to be Keon. You get through his base as well. He's the play there. Guys, that will do us for this episode. As I mentioned, Supercoach Award Show coming up next week or the week after. We'll do our positional team of the year, a few quirky ones to throw in there as well. We'll do out all the things we've learnt from this season, reflect on the positives, the negatives, the game in general of Supercoach, what we think we'd like to see change moving forward. Got a few things in mind. It is a great game, and there's not a lot, but there are a few little things. 18th man, cover HAAs. Oh, that'd be great. Please, love God. It solves so many headaches. Anyway, but guys, if you are sick of my voice, and that is highly likely, and you don't want to tune in to the podcast next week, I do want to say a massive thank you for all the support in 2024. The SC Playbook podcast, we peaked at number 2 in the Australian sporting charts for podcasts this season, earlier on in the year. Quite obviously, it wouldn't have happened without the community and the listeners out there. I touch on this one each and every year as well. But the SC Playbook and the Supercoach community in general, they're just legends, and not even just a cop-out saying that, but the general rugby league community, there's going to be a bit of vitriol from time to time, but the Supercoach community really rally around each other, very supportive and collaborative. So a big thank you for that, for making our job a hell of a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable throughout the year. There will be plenty more content to come at SC Playbook throughout the finals, little bits and pieces of Supercoach stuff, but some general footy stuff as well across our socials, our YouTube, podcasting, all that sort of good stuff to get through September. But yes, after a very much needed spell, we'll also be back for Supercoach BBL from around about late October, early November as well. So keep an eye out for that one, as well as we're going to be doing some expansion, some general cricketing content as well. Rando, before we move on, mate, the Patreon, it's absolutely flying, and the punters are going to need it come finals time. Absolutely. Perfect time to get a monthly membership heading into the finals. You get the full experience. You get round 27 through to the grand final if you jump on now. On top of that, EPL and NFL, diving into the stats around there. Had a really good run with EPL, was on a hiatus last weekend on a bit of off-the-grid stuff. But we'll be jumping back into that. But the NFL also really keen to see what the stats can pull out there, because there's plenty of player props that you can get on as well. Good stuff, mate. Very much like it. Righto, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week, so we'll see you then.